Alright, so in this video, I want to make this one. Trying to get my car ready, trying to take it back to the track. My tachometer wasn't working, couldn't get any RPMs reading out of it, and trying to figure out what's going on. It's always something, but anyway. I had actually made a post on the DSM tuners forum and Facebook. I had to get some help with this one. Couldn't do it on my own. I know a good bit, but I don't know everything. So apparently there's a bunch of people having problems with the getting RPMs on the 2Gs. Some people with the first gens. So some people just requested that I make a video of what I did to find it, what the problem was, or finding the issue, what I found, things to check, and so on. I'm terrible at the wiring diagrams. Trying the schematics, trying to read those and figure those out. They're a little too complicated for me to remember, and it's been I used to know, but it's been years since I've done it. So it's one of those use it, you lose it. You don't use it, you lose it type thing. So anyway, so I'm gonna pull the cluster out, show you the checks behind that, some of the wiring things you need to check for. Everyone's situation is different. What might have been the issue for me won't be the issue for you. So and this one, just the little disclaimer that just because that was what my problem is, it may not be yours. So just throwing off some basics there for you guys. So but anyway, let me get to it. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this sucker out, and then I'll show you some of the things I checked. Spoiler alert there, I'll go ahead and tell you it was, but had a wire behind my my dash up in here. I had I guess a short in there somewhere, or breaking the line, I don't know, but anyway, just letting you guys know what it was. But I'll show you some of the things I checked, and go from there. So let me go ahead and get this dash out, and I'll show you all the pins and so on. So as you see here, I've got the cluster pulled out. I set it up here on top. One of the things you got to do is check for some of the pins on here. If you're looking at diagrams, this one is C04, C05, and this one is C06, and then you have the different pins. The one over here for pin 10 is for your power, and then I can't remember, I have to look, but one is these for ground and your tach, so I have to look at those. I'll pull up the diagrams that I've got, show you where I'm checking at. Alright, so forgive me if you hear somebody blowing a sidewalk or something out there. Somebody's got a little blower out there, but anyway. For those of you who don't know, this is a PTU, or a power transistor unit. Some people, I believe, call it an igniter. If you have a stock intake manifold, it's probably going to be sitting up here on the top somewhere. My intake manifold is JMF. Of course, it's definitely needing some cleaning and polishing, but that's in the works. But it's normally going to sit up here. I have mine bolted down to the firewall up there, but this is what is going to be delivering the signal for your RPM gauge. Okay, you're going to have one that's going to go to the ECU, and then it's in parallel, from my knowledge, from what people have been telling me. We've got one that's going to go to the ECU. You've got somewhere where it splits off in there, and it's going to go to the RPM gauge as well. Okay, so if you're having a look, you want to see if you've got continuity. Of course, I've got another one down here. You probably can't see it. I will post up the picture of the wires. I've got it down here. It's a little bit dark here. Let me grab a flashlight. But you're going to have, it's pretty simple. In that regard, trying to figure out which is pin number 4. If you can see it, which you probably can't, so I'll just have to show up the diagram. But anyway, pin 4 is going to be the only one that's got a white wire going to this. Okay, that's the signal wire coming from the cam angle sensor, okay, which is this piece. Okay, so I don't know where all the wiring goes, but anyway, this is what delivers the signal though to the ECU and the RPM gauge. So you want to check for continuity on your meter, not on this, but the plug at the end of the wiring harness. The other side you will check at pin 58, and then at the cluster. So let me go get in there and I'll point those out real quick. Okay, so coming back in, if we're checking for continuity, at the power transistor, there's a few connections in here we need to check. There's about 3 of them. This one right here is C06, I believe, at pin 10, and I'll have to show up the diagram on that one. I don't know which one it is. I believe it's one of the bottom ones. I can't even remember. But basically, if the key is on, you should have power. So if you've got your meter to ground, I would normally stick it over here. Sorry, I got my door panel off because I was changing my door handles out. Got that done, thank goodness. But anyway, I'll just usually check for a little ground at the little bolt that's sticking out there, and I'm a positive lead on 10. It's one of those 2 bottom sides there. If you get it a voltage reading, you know which one it is. But if you've got power there, you should be having power to your tach, because everything else is going to be lit up anyway. Then you got to check for ground. Let me check and see which one that one is. But over here it's going to be pin 10. I just can't remember if it's the one on this side on the bottom or this one on the bottom. I believe it's one of those, if I'm looking at that right. The diagram's a little bit confusing the way they've got it. But let me go look for the signal and the ground. Let me check those. Be right back. Okay, so I'm trying to zoom in a little bit. Remember, we got C6 over here, C5, 04. For the signal, we're looking at pin 24, which I believe count 4 down. 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4th one down, you'll have a little pin off to the side here with a little piece of metal. So you're checking there for continuity to make sure basically you don't have a break in the wire here and at pin 4. So basically what I had to do, I had to run a wire from here. I had to connect it like a little clamp to clamp onto my meter so I could reach up under the hood and get to that wire there. So if you have a break there, either here to the PTU or from here to the at the ECU, you may have an issue there. So that's the signal. Let me check for the ground because I can't remember which one that one is either. So hold on just a moment. Okay, so if you're checking for ground, again, that's going to be continuity on this one right here, which is the C4 plug, and you're starting, if I remember right, it's pin 44, I believe. I can't remember exactly, but I'll post up the chart. But I'm counting from the bottom up, so 1, 2, 3, 4. I believe it was 44. I think the 4th one up. So you can just put your meter on the continuity, check for here and the ground, and you should be good to go there. So if you've got that, if you've got your ground here, and you've got your power over here at C10, then you're only going to have one other option. You're not getting your signal. So why? Do you have a break from the PTU to here? Are you having a break from the ECU to here? I've heard some people say that they've had issues maybe with the fuse box. I don't know that that would be the case. I don't know where all the wires go, but these are just things I've checked. But let me pull the wire off of the ECU so you can see where to check for that, because you're going to be checking at 58 as well. So hold on just another moment. Okay, so I'm starting from out here so you can kind of get an idea where I'm looking at. If you're looking at your ECU, of course you got all those wires, so it might be a little bit complicated. Let me get my steering wheel adjustment moved up. Your ECU is going to be sitting sideways, and you got the plug starting at the bottom. So you have your first one, second one, and the third one up, which is this one right here. Okay. So if you're looking at it from here, okay, let me try and move in. The second one from the right, if you're looking at it in this direction, okay, the second one from the right, that's going to be pin 58. It's a white wire. Okay. The big hole there, if you can see it, if I can get my big fat fingers out of the way. Let me try that again. The big hole right there is not what you're checking. You're checking the small hole there. Okay, so I had to put a paper clip in there. Like, hold on, let me get one and I'll try and show you what I did. I just put one in. If I can keep my camera on there as well. So basically all I did, I put a paper clip in there like so. You want to get it in there so you at least get a good connection though. And then all I had to do was just touch my lead on there like so, just to get a connection. Okay, so you're gonna be checking there at pin 58 from here to the PTU up under the hood, and from here
at the cluster, at the one for the signal. I've already forgot which number it is because I'm terrible at remembering numbers, and there's a lot of them. But anyway, if you're not getting signal from here to the RPM gauge, which is more likely going to be the cause, more than likely you got a break in the wire somewhere, which is the issue I had. Now, if you have a reading at let's say you've got Ecmlink and you've got a reading there, then you're not, or you're going to have the issue with the RPM gauge somewhere, okay? Somewhere there's a break. So anyway, what I was going to do once I found out, because I didn't have continuity from pin 58 there to the cluster, I knew there was a break somewhere there, but where was it? So I figured what I would do was bypass that, go to the plug and bypass that whole wire since I didn't have continuity to pin 58. Now my wiring's a little hacked. Of course, this is for a relay. Disregard that. Now I have a 4x4 shift box, so one of those is a RPM or a wire needing RPM there. So this is mine. I've got that going to pin 58. I have a blue wire attached. This is from my M&W ignition box because mine doesn't need the PTU. It's delivering the signal from the ignition box, which I wasn't aware of that. So I've cut the wire at the PTU because the PTU is not delivering the signal, being that I've got an ignition box. The ignition box is doing that. So what I did, I just wired the blue wire coming from the ignition box to pin 58 instead, and I cut the white wire at the PTU. Then I spliced in also a wire for my Force 4 box, and then I had to cut a wire because I'm trying to bypass this because I really didn't want to have to be going up behind the dash and all up under here trying to figure out where my brake was at, because somewhere my brake is up under there. So I really didn't have time to deal with that. It's already got some hacks in there where I've had to cut and solder. Eventually I'll probably get a new wiring harness, but I'm not worried about that today. But let me show you where I've tested to find my issue. So let me get to that step now. So just another moment. All right, so what I did, I'm gonna get this out of the way because I need to be able to pull this off. Now, most of you are gonna have a radio, so you may have a little bit more of a hard time doing this than me because you're gonna have a radio in there. But I'm gonna get my flashlight so you can see. There's some plugs there. Let me see if I can set my flashlight here. If you can see there, beyond all the wiring crap, there's a black plug, there's a white plug, and then I've got two plugs to the right. Okay. Now from here, the white plug here, this is C22. If you're looking at a diagram, which I'll try and remember to post that up as well. Okay. This plug right here, the wiring is going up, okay, and that is where it's going to the cluster, okay. So if you're trying to bypass, if you had to bypass this section here for C05 where your signal is coming in, let's say you're having to wire an aftermarket tach gauge, or you have a short here and you've got to bypass that, you don't want to have to figure out how to pull all this crap out because that might be having to pull the dash. I'm not doing that. Screw that. So anyway, so if you need to check for continuity, you can pull this plug here. And let me see if I can disconnect it here. Okay, there we go. So I've got it disconnected. Okay, and there's a white wire. I believe it's the second. If we had to flip this around, you can see. Sorry, I hope I was on screen. I'm sorry. It's just me doing it. But this white wire here, third one from the end, from the right, if we flip it over like so, how it gets plugged in there. Okay, so if you had to check for continuity from here to over here, okay, if you've got continuity between that point and the plug, then you know there's no break behind the cluster. Okay, so if you check from, being that this is the third one from the right, okay, if you had to check the third pin over on that same end to pin 58, if you've got a break, then you've got a break somewhere in the wiring on, this is the engine side harness, this is going to the gauge. Okay, so if you got continuity here, if you had to cut that wire and bypass it, that's what I did. That's what fixed my issue. Okay, But if you don't have continuity from here, okay, to pin 58, you've got a break in the wire somewhere here. As you can probably see, just looking here, that wouldn't be fun to try and figure out and diagnose. Sorry, I don't have time to be digging all in that and try and figure out where that wire is that I've got to diagnose. I just cut it at pin 58 over there, spliced it in. I'm going to wrap all this stuff, put it back up in there, call it good. I just want it to work, and that's it. So I'll worry about a clean, pretty little harness later on. It's not that pretty anyway. It is a stock harness which has got some age on it. So so long as it appears somewhat clean after everything's put together, that's my only concern. But anyway, those are the things I would be checking for. There are other things where you can check the capacitor and the wiring there for that noise capacitor or condenser, whatever you want to call it. I didn't go that far. I didn't think that was the issue. There's some wiring, but that's just what I checked. There's some that you can check for coil pack wiring from the PTU to the coil, but I don't have that, and I'll just show you what I got here. Let me get my butt out of here. Hold on. All right, so this is what I've got. Got this from Micah Bushers. He hooked me up. Okay, so I haven't mentioned that before. With the coil on plug, obviously BR for Busher Racing. He hooked me up with the M&W Pro 12. I know some people are going with the Arc 2. Spoke to Kevin Jur and Mike, and some other people said this is a really good box to use, so that's what I'm using. I don't have to worry about any knobs on it. But anyway, it's the blue wire from pin 4 that I'm using here that's going to pin 58 at the ECU to feed it. Now, keeping in mind, the confusing part for me was thinking that the ECU is delivering a signal to the RPM gauge. It is not. It is only receiving. Okay. Either this, the ignition box, or a PTU is both going to, one of the two is going to deliver the signal to the RPM gauge and the ECU. The ECU does not do anything as far as delivering any RPM signal. Okay. Ecmlink is just taking what's being received. Okay. So I know there's the confusion there. So, but all I did, I just tested the continuity here. Between 58, I had it there. I didn't have it at the gauge, so that told me what the problem was. And this is the wire, the blue wire that's going down into behind my dash. So, but anyway, that's about the most I know to really go over. I suck at wiring diagrams. I hate dealing with electrical issues. I've had some pretty big ones that have been kicking my butt here lately, where I've never had to do it ever before in my life. So, I hate making videos, but I'm just trying to help educate some of you guys. If it helps, it's not for me, because, you know, my car's running now, so it's not for me, it's for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I don't know if it'll do you guys any good, but I guess if you got any questions, fire away. But I don't know how well I'll be able to answer them, because I suck at electrical, but I don't mind giving it a shot. If it's something I know, I'll tell you. I'm not going to mislead you guys. If I don't know it, I'll tell you. So anyway, till next time, y'all have a good one. So one important part, if I could ever get my words out, one important point that I almost forgot was to check your gauge cluster as well. This one right here, I'm sure it was fine, because I checked the continuity between this bolt and this bolt right here. But if you can see, it's got a little rip in there. You can see that. So, so I got continuity there, but if it was to break a little bit more, you see that right there. And I've got another little one right over in here somewhere. It's a little hard to see out here, but yeah, right there. So if you can see that. So those things will keep a connection from going. So those are little things you might want to check as well. Make sure if you take your cluster out, just double check those things also as well if you're having a problem with your RPM gauge, or any other gauge for that matter. These things are made out of, feels like a cheap plastic. I wish it would be nice if it was just an actual circuit board that was hard. I don't know how much of a difference that would make, but it's got to be better than this cheap plastic stuff. But anyway, just want to throw that out there as well if you're trying to do checks. I almost forgot it. So.